When families are considering residential aged care, their first impression often forms before anyone from the facility has had a chance to explain the care model. I'm Sophie Moran, and this pitch presents Well Before the Tour, a proposed first inquiry communication pathway for Beresford Hall. The campaign is built around one strategic shift, bringing Beresford Hall's clearest explanation forward so families and referrers arrive at admissions contact already better informed. The campaign is grounded in the formative research from A1, including interviews and analysis of Beresford Hall's owned and digital communication. The research did not suggest that Beresford Hall needs broad publicity. Its issue is more specific. It already communicates strongly once families encounter it directly. The gap is earlier. Genevieve Harris described many first inquiries as needing aged care 101, especially around fees, funding, and how residential aged care works. Research on aged care decision making supports this. Couture et al. Show that informational and psychological concerns shape decisions about a new living environment. The own media review also found that Beresford Hall's website signals quality and premium positioning, but leaves users to piece together how the care model works in practice. This led to the core insight for the campaign. Beresford Hall's care model is persuasive, but it needs to become easier to understand before the tour. The situation is not a lack of care quality. It is a mismatch between when Beresford Hall's value becomes clear and when families and referrers begin forming judgments. For families and representatives, the decision is often urgent and emotional. They need to understand whether the care model is suitable, how the fees work, and whether someone they love would be well looked after. For professional referrers, the need is slightly different. They need a clear explanation of when Beresford Hall is an appropriate option so that they can refer families with confidence. Beresford Hall sits in the middle. Its value becomes clearest through direct contact, but that clarity needs to be available earlier in the inquiry pathway. The goal of Well Before the Tour is to strengthen Beresford Hall's early relationship with families, appointed representatives, and professional referrers by making its care model clear at the first point of contact. That is why I've framed this as a relationship management campaign rather than a promotional campaign. Lettingham's relationship management theory is useful here because it shows that organisation public relationships are built over time. For Beresford Hall, that relationship does not begin at the tour. It begins when a family first searches, receives a referral, opens the website, or asks whether the facility may be suitable. The objectives test whether the campaign creates clearer understanding and more informed movement towards admissions contact. Objective 1 focuses on clarity. By week 6, at least 70% of post-inquiry respondents should agree that Beresford Hall's first inquiry information clearly explains its care model and next steps. Objective 2 focuses on suitability. By week 10, at least 50% should agree that Beresford Hall appears credible and suitable for further discussion. Objective 3 tracks family action. By campaign end, at least 15% of unique Before the Tour webpage visitors should download the family guide or click through to an inquiry or tour request. Objective 4 focuses on professional referrers. By campaign end, at least 8 qualifying actions should be recorded from a target list of 25 professional contacts. The strategy is a 12-week proactive campaign, primarily using owned media and targeted direct communication. The campaign name, Well Before the Tour, expresses the strategic idea. The tour should remain one of Beresford Hall's strongest relationship building moments, but it should not have to carry the whole explanatory burden. The campaign moves key information into the first digital contact point. It gives families enough context to decide whether Beresford Hall is worth pursuing. It also gives referrers a clearer way to explain when Beresford Hall may be suitable. This is the right fit for the client. Beresford Hall has no dedicated marketing department and staff time is limited. The campaign improves the pathway around the strengths Beresford Hall already has. The key messages are deliberately restrained. For family decision makers and representatives, the message is that the Beresford Hall difference should start at first contact. For professional referrers and placement intermediaries, referral communication should make suitability easier to explain. For families already at the inquiry or tour stage, the tour should deepen understanding, not provide the first real explanation. Together, these messages keep the campaign focused on credibility rather than broad claims about luxury or excellence. The tactics form a guided pathway from first contact to informed inquiry. The Before the Tour webpage is the anchor. It is supported by the family guide, the guided inquiry email sequence, the professional intermediary briefing, and the Life at Beresford Hall story cards. Each tactic has a defined job. The webpage creates the first structured explanation, the family guide gives people something to revisit, the email sequence supports follow-up without replacing personal contact, the intermediary briefing gives referrers a concise resource, and the story cards connect premium positioning to lived care. Paid advertising is not the priority because the issue is not simply reach. The issue is quality of explanation where families and referrers are deciding whether to take the next step. The anchor tactic is the Before the Tour webpage. This webpage is designed as an own first inquiry hub. Its purpose is not to replace admission staff, but instead make the early conversation easier by helping families understand the care model before they speak with admissions. The opening section positions the page as a starting point for people still assessing suitability. The pathway cards answer questions that usually come early: what kind of care Beresford Hall provides, whether permanent or respite care is needed, and whether an ACAT assessment applies. The fees and accommodation section makes a difficult area visible without reducing the webpage to cost comparison. The Life at Beresford Hall section then shifts the page from process to lived experience. It shows that Beresford Hall's premium model is not only about luxury or location, it is experienced through daily care, routine, and relationships. The Family Guide gives users a practical next step. The Professional Referrer block extends the same pathway to those who influence early consideration. The campaign runs across 12 weeks. Weeks 1 to 2 prepare the pathway by confirming the webpage structure, message flow, approval process, and measurement setup. Weeks 3 to 5 build the campaign assets. From week 6, the campaign launches. The webpage goes live, guided follow-up begins, and priority professional contacts receive the intermediary briefing. Weeks 11 and 12 evaluate and refine the pathway using survey responses, webpage actions, email engagement, and intermediary follow-up. The proposed external campaign budget is $12,350. The largest share is allocated to the core pathway assets, the webpage and Family Guide. Together, these account for $6,900 or 56% of the budget. That allocation is appropriate because these assets most directly address the communication problem. They improve first contact and remain useful beyond the campaign period. Evaluation tracks whether first inquiry communication improves understanding and produces meaningful follow-up action. Objectives 1 and 2 are measured through a post-inquiry survey assessing clarity and suitability. Objective 3 uses website analytics and tracked links to measure family action through guide downloads, inquiry clicks, and tour requests. Objective 4 uses email tracking and a contact log to measure whether professional intermediaries take a qualifying follow-up action. The recommendation is to approve well before the tour as Beresford Hall's first inquiry pathway. The campaign responds directly to the research problem. It does not assume Beresford Hall needs to be louder. It assumes that its strongest explanation should be easier to encounter earlier. In practice, this gives families clearer first contact and makes admissions conversations more informed before they begin. Beresford Hall's care is already strong. The families who most need to find it are searching right now, often under pressure and without knowing where to start. This campaign gives them a clearer way in.